best regards from Ingolstadt. I have heard that you entered the Kamel GT Championship this year in the good old GTO car, so I wish you best of luck and a lot of success.
Best greetings to all drivers from the Audi GTO 90 Championship. Good success.
The GTO Championship remains astonishingly close for how lopsided the stats make it seem like it should be. Meanwhile, the GTPs bring us a situation just as bizarre, with Fabian Gerber shockingly without a win and somehow still leading the points. Have our drivers entered some sort of alternate universe? I'm sure they wish they had, because in that world, maybe VIR would be an easy, simple track. But they'll find no such luck today as we get ready to watch round 7 of the iRacing Kamel GT series. And you'll see it all live here on the global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Virginia International Raceway is often cited among the most difficult of tracks on the iRacing service. It's even at times referred to as the mini green hell in homage to the Nürburgring. To find out what makes it so tough, let's head down to our track guide. Welcome to Virginia International Raceway. This track near the southern border of its namesake has had the rare blessing of being resurrected from the dead. With 2 decades of use in its modern incarnation and still drawing regular visits from IMSA and Trans Am, it's safe to say that VIR is back and thriving. The owners didn't skimp on refurbishing the place either. An impressive 7 versions are available to run on iRacing, with viewing areas that include posh villas near South Bend that can be rented by fans. The track's long and complex layout has earned it some colorful corner names too. The horseshoe kicks things off right away with a never-ending double apexer that tends to suck the greedy out into its runoff. Later on, fast cars lacking downforce are sent through the terrifying climbing S's and spit out of the steep drop of South Bend. Of course, there's perhaps the most famous turn of Oak Tree, which has sadly lost its eponymous flora in real life, but is retained here in the virtual world. Let's not forget one of the scariest obstacles at the end of the lap, the roller coaster. The incredible speed drivers carry up into this blind braking zone is what causes it to require such immense bravery in order to get the most out of a lap. As you'd expect, the high number of corners makes passing rather difficult. Add in the fact that many of them are dangerously swift, and track position can wind up being a major factor in races. With the picturesque backdrop of the Appalachians around them, fans are not left wanting when they come to watch drivers face off at this historic track. It's no wonder the circuit has found success in its second chance at life. See some of the sights around here, sadly without the oak tree anymore in real life, but at least we have it preserved here. Adam?
Absolutely, it's preserved very well. But Virginia International Raceway is infamous among sim racers for its all-grass runoff, constant turns, and narrow track surface that make passing a hazard. The track map really does not do it justice. Add to that changes in grade pretty much the entire way around the track, and multi-class racing, and you have a recipe for chaos. Both the Nissans and the Audis will be equally as comfortable around this track, with the Nissans being able to stretch their legs in most places, always needing to keep an eye on their wheel spin, and the Audis needing late exits to most corners to avoid pushing off the track as it sweeps downhill. Where things get crazy is the multi-class and any passing opportunities. Patience will be the name of the game, as getting even a quarter of a tire off track will likely spell the end of your day. The Nissan's pace will be tremendous, but with the racing line constantly switching from left to right, trying to find a way by will be difficult. If you're looking to pass your own class, Oak Tree, Horseshoe, and the Back Straight are your best bets, but every pass is risky here, and any mistake could lead to a very short race for these guys, Joe.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll get everybody able to complete most, if not all, of the race today. But let's take a look at the championship, because not everybody's been able to compete in all the rounds, honestly. And that's why we've got this situation, like I mentioned, with Gerber leading the way, and not by a small margin either. 15 points between himself and Mukanos without having won a race. And Mukanos has won a race. But again, it comes down to that attendance, like I was talking about. Many of our fast drivers have not been here every round. Our most winningest driver, Justin Albrecht, has fallen down to fourth, yet has won 3 races, but he hasn't shown up in a bit, so not sure if he's here today. I'll check on that in a second here. In the meantime, you can see we've got Houghton and Krajcik as well within the top 5, and it's actually rather tight when you get down from 2nd to 5th. It's just Fabian Gerber, with his consistency, has kept himself up in the mix. Let's take a look at the GTO Championship as well.
Absolutely. This is a little bit of a different tale, with Dennis Neidhart taking the win last week and taking a 3-point lead over Juco Lascala. Juco being one of those drivers who is quick and consistent and also always here. That's why you see him up there in the 2nd spot. Phil Lake has been struggling in qualifying a bit, which puts him down the field as far as track position goes, and that's been making his points climb a little bit of a struggle. Only in 3rd place, 14 points behind the leader. With Reed Miller, Mr. Consistency, always in that top 5, right in the back of that top 5. He's down there in 4th with 17 points behind. And then Andre Albertinelli retains that 5th position from last week into this week with 54 points behind.
Now, just in case we have new viewers, because every week we have a chance of having new people coming in to watch, why don't we run down those race details? We are in round 7. That's what makes all this weird situation that we've got with the championship so astonishing, because we're past halfway at this point. Now, it's a 40-minute race, so it's their sprint version of their races that they do in this series, and they are open setup. They also have no fast repairs, so if you damage the car, you've got to come in and get that banged on if it's too much to deal with to get to the checkered flag. And that is going to be crushing since there are no scheduled pit stops in this 40-minute race. They also have an incident limit at 25 in which they'll be disqualified before they get there. When they get to 17, they will get a stop and go penalty, which will again hurt having to make any stops into the pit lane today. Now, qualifying is underway, and Gerber looks to be grabbing the opportunity with Justin Albrecht not here, as he's got the provisional pole and both of his qualifying laps are now done. Phil Lake, in the meantime, trying to see if he can join the top 2 in the points, because he's got the provisional pole down to the GTOs.
Yeah, I'm interested to see whether or not he's going to hold on to that, because Juco Lascala was by far the quickest in the practice sessions, but Juco now trapped down in the 4th position as far as the Audis are concerned. Dennis Neidhart in 2nd with Reed Miller in 3rd provisionally for the start of this race. Juco Lascala and Rob Olnick round out your top 5 in the GTOs.
Dennis with his 2nd lap. Looked like he improved that time by. Now, what about Yuko? He's coming towards it now. Ooh, 8 tenths quicker on that lap. Where's that going to put him? 2nd place, but not quite above Phil Lake. And that's the last opportunity that the Finn is going to have to try and take that pole away. In fact, Phil's just coming to the line now as we watch Clayton McLeod also finishing his 2nd lap. That looks like a slow one for him. So something must have happened. Lake's actually not going to complete his 2nd lap because he comes to a halt mysteriously.
Klaus Olsen still on his 2nd lap. Fabio Iati also on his 2nd lap. Fabio, quite a better lap than he had last time. It looks like, yes, about a 2nd faster. So Fabio's going to move himself up to 8th position. And Klaus Olsen, like he spun out. Rob Olnick crossing the line, a slow lap for him. Just about a 10th off of his previous lap. So he's going to be stuck down in the 5th position with Reed Miller pulling off. He's not going to finish his lap, but it's still good enough for 4th.
I think we might have just about all of our drivers having finished their laps. I think Stefan Schlacker should be able to finish his just barely in time for the 2nd time around. John Keefe definitely not far enough along on his qualifying to be able to set a time. Less than a minute left to go. Let's see what the Austrian is able to do here. Checking to see if there is anybody else, and I'm not seeing any drivers. So Steph will be our last one to complete the qualifying. So he comes through the roller coaster, down towards Hogpen. A lot of very tricky, narrow corners through here.
Also, the amount of load that the Nissan gets through these downhills can really upset the car if you're not careful. So Stefan doing a good job staying to that right side. Here he crosses the line.
He does go quicker by a couple tenths, but it's only going to put him up into the top 10 just barely. And so he is at least going to have something of a position here in the race, but won't be the best of places to start. Let's go through that qualifying order for today. We've got a number of prototypes who haven't put a time in, so I guess looking to start at the back of the field, maybe to try and stay out of trouble. Fabian Gerber, though, put it on pole, and it's going to be an all-Gerber front row with Tobias, his brother, starting next to him. Nicholas Mukanos will be starting in third, looking for another win this season. And then you've got Jamie Hall starting next to him in P4. Kenny Ingstrom will be starting in fifth. Laust Olsen with a good qualifying to put himself into sixth place. Martin Krejcik, nice job, smack dab in the middle of the pack, starting seventh with Pablo Suarez in P8. Heitor Sintez Guindo, ninth place for him, and we watch Stefan Schlacker come across late with 10th place. Mike Reuter starts in 11th. Then you've got Alexander Chaletko in the 12th position. Clayton McLeod starts 13th, and Juan Costa in P14. Carlos Fonseca, John Keefe, Ryan Lang, and Johnny Bell all failed to set a time and will be gridded at the back of the prototypes.
Phil Lake is going to start off on pole position for the Audis with Hugo Scala starting off in second place. Dennis Neidhart's going to start off in third, his worst starting position in a couple of races, with Reed Miller in fourth place. Rob Olnick's going to start off in fifth, with Ben Lafter in sixth. Christopher Chitterling is back to start off in seventh position, with Fabio Iati in eighth. Daniel Sadro's going to start off in ninth position, with Hideki Koivisto in 10th. Jamie Hamill-Smith, a newer driver that we haven't seen that much of, is going to start off in the 11th position, with Simo Rava in 12th, and Michael Haynes did not set a time, and will round out your 31-car field.
Talking about it before we went live to air, that this track is another in a line of very, very difficult tracks. Apparently, from what we talked to some of the drivers last week, it wasn't intentional, just they were putting in a lot of American tracks that just so happened to be incredibly tough with these combination of cars. This one in particular today, it's hard enough to drive. We've talked a lot about that, Adam, but traffic-wise, I feel like there's some real danger zones around here.
Yeah, well, everywhere is a danger zone around here because the grass is so close. I mean, just look at that. There's absolutely no runoff on this track whatsoever. And a lot of American drivers like to say that, that the American courses are tougher because of that. But this track really proves that adage. One of the other interesting things to note is that actually doing a pace lap around here is not a calm thing. Usually, when we're doing pace laps, you'll see drivers weaving about, and you'll see, people being a little bit less attentive. But around here, the track is so narrow and so windy, you really have to be aware of the line that you're in so you don't make contact with the drivers next to you. And we'll see a little bit of single file through some of the corners as we do this pace lap.
I don't know if I mentioned it yet, but Albrecht is in fact not here today. So sadly, he's going to continue to fall down the order. I'm not sure what happened to him. Hope you're out there and doing okay, Justin. We certainly miss seeing you out here, as it looked like a good season starting off. Fabian Gerber still looking for that elusive first win of the season in round 7. Wonder if he can finally take it today. As we ride on with the Audis now, where Leskala still looking for his first win. Sits behind Neidhart, who has been just stomping things. Let's take a look at the weather for today, and it is, unfortunately for our drivers, pretty hot on the track surface.
It's way hot. 100 degrees around VIR is just a recipe for sliding around a lot, and the Audis will be the main people who are susceptible to that. It's going to be fascinating to see how the drivers handle that, especially because with Phil Lake up front and Dennis Neidhart in third, or it's starting off in the third position, It's going to be really interesting to see how those two drivers with very different driving styles are going to handle this tire wear that they're going to get here at VIR, because it is extreme, even in the best scenarios.
We saw, though, it is mostly cloudy conditions, and we can see we've already got cloud cover coming over. So hopefully that brings it down a little bit over the course. Now, the downside of that is if a driver has set the car up for the heat, if the track does cool, that can really change the handling. And hopefully drivers are able to handle that variation that they could experience. Now they come along the long back straight. I always found it ironic that the corner at the end of it is called the roller coaster, because this backstretch has a lot of elevation change in its own.
Yeah, it comes down this hill, and that goes over a small bump and then back over a crest. And really, this whole track could be described as a roller coaster, because that's what it feels like when you're driving it. You're basically just hanging on as the car drifts from right to left, because the racing line you have to take tries to straighten all these turns out, and it's got so many of them.
And that is what could trip up a lot of drivers with the traffic, having to cross across the track so much. And especially if someone has got a lot of speed and coming up behind you, being able to predict which way they're going to go, or them trying to predict which way you are going to go. They are going to go through the hog pen now behind the Porsche pace car, because Fabian Gerber is going to be released, and then we'll have 40 minutes of racing for round 7 in the iRacing Kamel GT series. Pace car now peels off. Gerber waiting. He's stacking them up. Green flag is out. It was a long wait for Fabian. In fact, that held up his brother, and look at the jump that Mukanos is going to get. In fact, Mukanos is going to look to the inside. He's going to be covered off. They almost go 3 wide down into the horseshoe. One car off. That's Laust Olsen in the back. Everybody else looks like they're going to be nice and smooth. Let's go to the GTOs.
We already had a wreck of the GTOs before the first turn. Fabio Iati and Jamie Hamill-Smith went off because Phil Lake got a really good jump. And you remember Juco Scala started off in second. He actually went off track before we even got around the final corner. He's now down in 6th position. All the Audis now, though, starting out single file.
Another car off in the prototypes. Carlos Fonseca, just a small one. Don't need to go to it. And he's going to be able to return after that little drama. Thankfully, before the GTOs get to him, look at the speed that these prototypes carry through these climbing S's. Already, Gerber is way ahead as they come out of the South Bend and into Oak Tree for the first time.
We have an interesting development going on. Phil Lake is actually right up to the back of Carlos Fonseca, that spun GTO, that spun GTP, and those GTPs should snake away from him as they get onto the back straight, but Phil almost ran into the back of Carlos coming through the snaking S's, so fortunately the GTPs have more pace now, but it was getting very close for them.
The Anvil's still trying to chase down Phil Lake, who's got about a second gap over him. Instead, it's the car behind him that he needs to worry about. Robbo still looking for his first win this season in the GTO class, who has been fast, but just not able to finish the job and take the checkered flag as we now switch back to the prototypes coming across to complete the first lap.
Yeah, Fabian Gerber with a pretty decent lead, but I think that's about a safe gap that you're seeing between all of these drivers, about 0.7 of a second. But for between the first six cars between each of them, and I think that's just a safe following distance for these guys, especially when they start to approach the back of the GTO field.
Meanwhile, in that battle for the lead for the GTOs, or really what is the battle for second, Dennis Neidhart has about a half-second gap over Rob Olenek, just holding tight. Top 3 starting to spread away from Reed Miller, who currently runs in 4th. He's the red and white machine you see a little bit behind them.
And remember, passing around here is very difficult, so there's only really 2 great places to pass. So Robbo or Dennis are going to have to set up the guys ahead of them, and they look like they're just setting up to ride at the moment, Joe.
Yeah, he's fallen back a little bit. I think he's given some space to Dennis Neidhart. They come through the South Bend one more time. Big crest on there. You can see from that low camera just how much the track drops away and then climbs back up here into the Oak Tree. This is going to be a very important corner all race long. The exit off of Oak Tree onto the backstretch. All 3 of them look tidy this time.
Yeah, that corner exit is the one that is key to you succeeding in this race and moving forward. It's going to be very dangerous for any driver to try and get too wide around that corner.
Got a little bit of a battle back in 7th in the prototypes. Krejcik is under attack from Sintes Guindo. And he's going to look to the inside, down into the horseshoe, but he's not quite brave enough on the brakes. Oh, too brave, actually. He gets into the back of him. That's going to give a spot to Stefan Schlacker as well as a number of others.
Yeah, and Heitor Sintes Guindo pulls over and lets Krejcik go back on board. So just a rough incident there for Krejcik, who got into the back of by Heitor Sintes Guindo, who's now very slow on track.
That changed in a hurry. I didn't think that he was anywhere near to running into him. He must have maybe let off the brakes a little bit there. Regardless, that hurt both drivers significantly in terms of position.
And Fabian Gerber has caught up to the traffic in the GTOs, and it's actually slowed him up enough that Jamie Hall is taking a look at trying to make a move for the lead, for the second place of this race, actually. Nick Macanos very close, with Jamie Hall just blowing the corner a little bit. That's going to cause a little bit of an issue there.
He's lucky that car did not spin with two wheels in the dirt in the oak tree corner. And it looks like we've had a problem with Alexander, the number 18. He's off at the oak tree as well. I wonder if that's more traffic issues.
No, that was a single car incident. He got it loose going through oak tree and spun off the track by himself, so he's doing okay now. But the battle's between Ryan Lang and Clayton McLeod, who are side by side.
So as we hop back up here, we watch our drivers, Jamie Hall, still chase Mucanos with about half a second between them. Tobias Gerber, not out of it yet. He may have started in 2nd and fallen to 4th, but he's keeping touch with these drivers. He could still get back up to where he started. It's going to be tough going. Let's go to 3rd in the GTO class, because Rob Olenek, despite looking like he had pace for Neidhart, has suddenly fallen into the clutches of both Miller and Leskala.
Yeah, Leskala's the one who's trying to catch up to the back of them, because he started off in that second position rather, and he needs to get past these two guys in order to try and have any chance of getting that lead back. But Reed Miller's going to go around the outside of Rob Olenek into the first turn. This is going to be a little tight for the two of them. This gives a really good opportunity for Leskala to get to the inside of Reed Miller. He's going to take that opportunity, almost gets into the door, but Reed Miller squeezing Leskala towards the inside of that track. It's going to switch over now. Leskala trying to go around the outside. This is a very hard place to pass. Leskala's committed to it.
He's still holding on somehow. Two wheels barely in the dirt. Neither one willing to give up. Is this where he's finally got to give up the ghost? Yes, indeed. Through the left hook. That is a hard one to stay side by side. Miller holds on to 4th, but just barely. And this is a boon for Olenek as he scampers away. Got some action down in the prototypes side by side with Olsen looking to battle with Keefe. Oh, and he starts to lose the car. Can he get it wound up in time? He does, but he loses the position as Krejcik sneaks through.
Yeah, that was very close between Olsen and Keefe. We're going to take a quick replay of this. This is a very sketchy moment for Laust Olsen. He almost got into the side of Krejcik here.
Well, and Keefe as well. Oh, great job on him to just keep a cool head, keep the car in a consistent direction, and everybody else was able to deal with him as it happened. You can see the 23, unfortunately, down to 10th place now. Oh, and look at the lead for the GTOs. How did this come together?
Yeah, Phil Lake had about a 1.5-second lead, and he must have made a mistake in the last lap because Dennis Neidhart is within half a second of him. And so if Dennis can get some good corners here, he could put pressure on Philip Lake as they exit Oak Tree this lap. Let's see how he achieves this. Wow, very late on the brakes there, but can he get it through the corner? Yes, so he's found something here.
Remember I talked about those changeable conditions. We're already 2 degrees down Fahrenheit. So this cloud cover has cooled it down mildly, not significantly yet, but we're only 8 minutes into this race. If it keeps doing that, we could find ourselves in very different conditions come checkered flag. We ride on board with Dennis Neidhart now through the snake, as they call it. They'll get a brief moment to relax here under the bridge, and then it's through the climbing S's. Let's stay on board through here because this is a wild ride.
Yeah, and I can report that Juco Lascala tried to do the same thing Dennis did, but just overdid it into the first corner, outbraked himself, and went off track. He's now down to the 5th position, once again behind Reed Miller.
See how much elevation change and change of direction there is through that portion of the track. Onto the back stretch now they go. This is that important corner we were talking about, out of Oak Tree. Phil Lake nails it. Look at how much gap he's able to pull over the number 2. Just ahead of him, some traffic. That's Yachty, I think, that they're catching. It is indeed.
Very interesting moment, Joe, between Martin Krajcik, who had to take evasive action through the pit lane after he almost spun about 30 seconds ago. So he's back out on track, but he's definitely got a black flag for a stop and go.
Let's take a look at this. I said it's costly to go through the pit lane. I guess even if you don't have to stop necessarily. There's the spin. Oh! Well, unfortunately, shouldn't he have gotten a speeding penalty from that?
Absolutely. He's probably got a penalty that he's going to have to serve after that.
I guess that's why he kept his foot in it. I mean, the good news is, at least in the virtual world, that's not a danger. In the real world, that would be a big no-no, but he got away with that one. Second place in the prototypes, Mukanos has Jamie Hall under his rear wing. Tobias Gerber, he's given some space, some breathing room, but at least holding on if they start to battle. He could get into the mix, but at this point, he is not a factor.
Yeah, Jamie Hall close enough to strike at Nick Mukanos. It just depends on how well Mukanos is able to navigate these sectors. And really, on this track, you are absolutely looking for the guy ahead of you to make a mistake. You just need to drive as consistently as you possibly can around here and hope that your pressure is able to push them off track.
He certainly is giving that pressure. And I think I see Krajcik now heading into pit lane again. He's slowing down.
Ooh, Pablo Suarez off track.
Look and see what caused this.
It looked like just another issue of GTP having too much rear brake bias and getting their rear tires spinning in the corner.
Ooh, wow, you can see how much he had to trundle through the grass to get back on course. Suarez still running though, and that demotes him to 7th. How about Stefan Schlacker? He's up from 10th to 6th now, gaining a few spots here and there. What looks like mostly though due to others' misfortune.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to be a little irritated with us talking about him because it always seems like we give him the commentator's curse in this series. But he is out there by himself, so I feel like it's pretty safe to mention him at this point. 7th place is a great climb from him. With all the chaos that's been going ahead of him, he's mostly inherited those spots, but he did have a few good passes as well.
Seems like 2nd place gets tantalizingly close. Hall was great through the twistier sections. I wonder if he's got more wing cranked into it. He's going to get a little bit of a slipstream here, but seems too far back down into the horseshoe.
He really wanted it. He looked at it multiple times, and when you look at it that many times, that's not doing it for the sake of the guy ahead of you. That's doing it because you're thinking, oh, I think I can stuff it in there. But he played it safe, stayed back, and now he's got to set it up for coming through Oak Tree at this point.
We had a scary moment for John Keefe out of the roller coaster, I think down towards Hogpen. Nearly sent it into the barrier, but just narrowly avoided it. If we want a scary onboard. Oh, as looks like he got overtaken by Clayton down into the horseshoe. So with that slow exit out of the hog pen, he was just a sitting duck up into the first turn. Oh, and Olsen's off in front of them. Olsen with another mistake. This has not been a good day for the number 23.
Yeah, quite a few drivers are having these kinds of mistakes right now, and we're seeing that happening all over the track, and that's just the trouble with this track, is you really have a hard time pushing as hard as you want around here. This is a track that requires millimeter accuracy, and if you get just a little bit of that rubber off track, it's going to pull you into that grass.
Mukanos side by side, and he actually banged doors here with Jamie Hall. Doesn't get the position. My goodness, some tight racing up here at the top. We can't get the replay yet because this could still erupt down into the horseshoe yet again. Gerber still not able to get into things. Somehow, some blinking from Jamie Hall as Mukanos won't like to see that. As they come down and break into the first turn, covered off on the inside. Jamie Hall not letting them through.
Jamie Hall doing a good job defending that position. Nick Vacanos, it's just been very risky between the two of them, and you got to take every opportunity you can to pass. There's Jamie Hall going off track. Nick Vacanos is going to smell blood in the water, but Tobias Gerber's right in the back, right in with these guys as well. He's in a really good position.
I'm really surprised that he's not able to do anything with this yet. As hard as they are fighting.
Well, he's probably going to try it through Oak Tree this time. We're getting really close. Look how close behind Nick is through this twisty section. He's got a lot going on, but there's a big battle of the GTOs happening ahead of them. This is going to be very exciting.
Oh, they're all trying to sneak through. They're in a hurry, and these GTOs might not be aware of the situation. Look at them almost shove their way through. That might have been the saving grace for Jamie Hall, because I don't think Mukanos got the exit he needed. He's going to get a little bit of a toe still, climbing over the crest. Daniel Sadro is up ahead of him. They're not catching them as quickly as they would like. He's still going to try and break his way through at least one of them. Ben Laughter is the next one ahead, just tiptoeing their way around these slow GTOs.
You can't get by. It's really impossible to get by a GTO in this sector. He's going to have to wait. This puts Nick Vacanos right on his rear bumper. Jamie Hall's got a tire in the dirt. There goes Nick Vacanos. He's going to make it by and pass Ben Laughter in the process as well.
That also slowed up Mukanos because here comes Tobias Gerber. Gerber might have a good opportunity. Covering off the inside, Nick Mukanos in the number 10 wants to hold on to this second place. Now these work so hard to get up the long way around. Tobias Gerber fighting hard. Another blink there with connection problems for Nick Mukanos. And that's going to deny Tobias that second place.
And you also saw Kenny Engstrom going off in the back. He's back on track safely, but lots of people having trouble. Look at that. Nick Vacanos getting slippery on the exit there. He's pushing really hard.
Just behind them as we rode on board there with Gerber, Jamie Hall with another off after he'd caught up with those two battling side by side. So that scuppers his chances to try and get into it once again. And finally, they are separating. All this happening as the GTO lead also gets pulled apart. I think Martin Krejcik got in the middle of them. You can see the white prototype causing them a little bit of headache here.
Yeah, definitely. That's going to cause a big headache for Dennis Neinhardt. Dennis has been in a really good position to battle Phil Lake a couple of times, but they've been separated by GTPs every single time. So Dennis has the pace. He just hasn't had the opportunity, and that's just how hard it is to try and pass around here. Oh, and we need to go back to second place in the GTPs because Nick Vacanos is trapped behind Juco Lascala, and it's getting very tight between the two of them as Tobias Gerber looking on the back as well. This is a good opportunity for him if he can get some good corners here, but he gets a little bit disrupted on his line from Juco Lascala, and that's going to put him off the line, and Nick Vacanos is going to snake away.
Separates all of them once again. We're on board with Tobias Gerber in the number 11. Vacanos, you can see the distance between them just from that little bit of line alteration between them. So susceptible to those problems, especially in traffic. We are just about halfway through this race at this point.
Yeah, Joe, and I thought that this cloudy weather was going to make the track temperature go down. I was dead wrong. It has gone up 6 degrees since we started this race. It's up to 106 degrees on track. This is getting even worse for these drivers.
Virginia weather, I guess. We've had so much cloud cover. I don't know how it's this warm on the track surface. So continue to ride on board through the climbing S's now. Traffic.
Oh, Nick really had to take evasive action there to try and avoid Reed Miller, and now Jamie Hall's round the back of Tobias Gerber now, so this three-way battle still continues.
Yeah, Rob's gonna unfortunately affect the line of Mukanos. He gets away rather well, though. Gerber does not. Tries to get a little bit of slipstream as he... Look at the weave. He's trying to follow the weave of Tobias Gerber. Or excuse me, Tobias is trying to follow the weave of Rob Olenek. And he is going to manage to sneak by before they get to the roller coaster. That will be a relief so that he can get away from Jamie Hall, who we ride on board with now with the helmet cam.
Jamie's going to be stuck behind Rob all the way through these next couple of sectors, and this is going to really heal things up. But here we go. Tobias Gerber trying to go on Nick McCombs. They're going to go 3 wide across the front stretch, almost with Dennis Neidhart. It broke up that battle, though. Very, very sketchy moments as Tobias tried to go to the right of Dennis and almost was forced into pit lane.
I think that was Michael Haynes that they were going by.
Yes, it was. My apologies.
Yeah, Neidhart a ways up the road. This has split Olenek and Miller and Leskala from the top 2 by a big margin, to be honest. Oh, and we had a wreck with Mike Reuter and I think Clayton McLeod. Let's take a look at the replay. There was contact involved, but this starts with Reuter going off. Just couldn't pick the right way through.
It's so hard to predict on this track the right way through these moments.
The Hoosier just, started to lose control, and by the time he touched the dirt, there was no saving that thing. So, let's head back to the battle for second and the prototypes, because that's really the closest we've got here at the front of the field. Mukanos holding off Gerber, still holding off Hall as well. Their pace is actually quite incredible because they've pulled away from Kenny Engstrom by about 7 seconds. They're not being slowed up too badly in spite of all of this. They come through roller coaster and hogpen once more, but Phil Lake kind of in an awkward position here for Gerber. Is this going to help Hall?
Hall's got a really good opportunity here if he does get to the back of Gerber. That was as close as it gets. Jamie Hall loses traction but saves it. That was very close between the two of them. Any closer and he would have sent Gerber around.
Can we get a replay on board for Jamie Hall? He thought he was setting up a beautiful move here. And then suddenly it came to a screeching halt. We need to go just a little bit farther back here.
Here it comes down the hill. And gets surprised, and look how much he has to save it there. That was almost the end of his race. Almost the end of Tobias Gerber's race as well.
Great job, everybody, for keeping a cool head in that moment and keeping the cars under control. That finally splits that battle for P2 that's been so close. Allows us a chance to look elsewhere. With 7th place getting close. Suarez and Sintez Guindo are fighting for P7.
Yeah, and this got really spicy last lap at Oak Tree, where they came up on the slow car of Ben Laughter and actually almost got together because of that. Sintez Guindo lost a lot of traction, and so Suarez was able to get by, but it was not on pace, so it'll be interesting to see whether Guindo can make the time back. Oh no!
Not that way. He's going to be off track. Can he save it? Keeps it out of the barriers. I think he's going to lose his spot to Laust Olsen, who gets by. Wow, good job to keep that from becoming a worse wreck.
Yeah, and take a look at this. This is really tough. He gets loose, he just opposite locks it, and now he has to save it from hitting the wall. That's way harder than you think it is.
I mean, quick hands, and also, I can't believe that car lost control that early. Did he touch the grass or something? It looked like it just went as soon as he turned in.
Well, if he puts too much wheel into it as he's going over that crest, he gets the front end going a little bit at a steeper angle than the rear end, and the rear end can take flight over the crest, and that can actually upset the car like that.
Meanwhile, let's go back to the battle for third and the GTOs. Reed Miller is chasing down Rob Olenek. Again, I mentioned this earlier. They've lost touch with Neidhart and Lake, who really aren't battling at this moment as they're gapped, so we don't need to go to that. But top 2 have basically got their own race at this moment, and these 2 are trying to settle out the final spot on the podium.
One of the fun things about this race is that these races tend to be about 40 minutes long. They have 2 60-minute races throughout their season. But these 40-minute races are great because it means that you don't have to come in for a pit stop. So you just get to race, keep your eyes ahead. You don't have to worry about the strategy. And that's one of the things that is challenging on iRacing, is that you as the driver also have to be your own pit crew and your own crew chief and just make decisions on strategy. So it's awesome in these 40-minute races to see them just going all out and focus on the driving.
Unfortunately, Reed Miller's focus on the driving is not producing results because you can see that Olenek is peeling away. That was Suarez that we saw just go by. This is finally a bit of a break in what has been a frantic race. Glad that we ourselves can get some breathing space. So while we've got that, let's give a little bit of love to our leaders in the GTOs, because Phil Lake, we mentioned earlier, still being chased by Neidhart. He's got himself 1.7 gap.
And Jamie Hall has just pulled off of circuit and disconnected. So something happened with him very quickly.
I suspect maybe that might have to do with his internet connection issues we saw. Remember, he's blinked a few times today, so maybe he's just a little too worried about how it was doing and decided to call it a day instead of risk ruining somebody else's. Okay, Fabian Gerber looking for that elusive win. I don't want to curse anything here. So we're going to say that it's still tight between himself and Mukanos with those 9.7 seconds, and he's got to hustle.
Hustle is very in front of him, for sure. He's very, very going to have to push very hard. Ooh, look at that. That was a car up.
That was Yachty. As lap down GTO. Not too big of a drama, just went wide coming out of Hogpen. Now, Suarez was fighting with Guindo before, but Sintez Guindo had his off track. Laust Olsen in his climb back forward has caught up to the back of him, and it looks like he's got good straight line speed because he really gained down the back stretch. Oh, he's too hot into the roller coaster. Barely keeps it from going off into the grass, and that would have been catastrophic on that turn. So he's got to regain all that ground that he lost.
Yeah, but don't think for a second that this battle is over, because they have Dennis Neidhart who Pablo's going to be able to pass here, but then Pablo's going to be following Phil Lake through the first sector, and that's going to slow him up. Now, if Laust Olsen can find a way around Dennis Neidhart in this first sector, he might be able to regain this time that he's lost.
And there's not many good straights here to do that. This is probably going to be his best opportunity before NASCAR if he can just outbrake him, but he's not quite there. He is going to get something of help from Phil Lake because Pablo Suarez now held up. Both drivers having to just sit patiently and wait because the snake is definitely not the sort of place you want to go side by side here in traffic. Maybe after it. There goes Suarez. Suarez is through and Olsen is through, but now Olsen's got to try and wait for Phil Lake as well.
Yeah, so Olsen lost a lot of time there behind Neidhart, who was not willing to give up his line. Take a look at this. Olsen's going to dive to that outside around here. Yep, that's exactly what you need to do as the GTPs. It makes it so the GTO has to brake a little bit earlier, but this allowed Olsen to get through, but he's now 2.5 seconds behind.
That was costly. Remember Olsen with his multiple troubles. He actually qualified in 6th, so if he can pass Suarez, that'll put him back to where he started. Not ideal, but at least regains all that he lost in the process. A little bit closer than that right now is Olenek and Miller.
Yeah, Miller keeps climbing up to the back of Rob Olenek, but can't seem to get the pass done. This is his best opportunity that he's had. Olenek going to go to the middle of the road and try and block off Miller. Miller, with a head of steam, unable to do anything with it. He's got to set him up going into turn 1 now. This means that getting this very technical section really good. Look at that. Olenek very fast through here. He's clipping all the right apexes there. And Reed Miller just unable to close to the back of him.
With Keith catching up behind. On the front stretch, this would be nice for him. A little bit of slipstream offered up for Robbo. Also, by the way, for those wondering, let's stay with this battle, but Suarez had an off, and that gifted the position to Olsen. All this traffic, just a nightmare here through the horseshoe.
Yeah, this is the battle for 9th place in the GTPs that's going by. John Keefe, Ryan Lang, and Carlos Fonseca. We haven't talked about it much, but these guys have been trading off tracks and trading positions all day.
They come out now of the left hook. They're split still by Fonseca. Fonseca's got to sit tight here. Oh, bad exit for Reed Miller. Did he miss a shift there? Just very slow off of there. That was strange.
And no, this wasn't a missed shift. This was actually just push. This was just a push out wide. He couldn't get onto the throttle quick enough. You're going to see it there. Yeah, it's just he didn't have the opportunity to really get back onto the throttle. Otherwise, he would have pushed straight off track.
Difficulty of driving this old machinery always shows itself, especially on these broadcasts. Always makes me wonder what the fans think watching this, because sometimes it can look silly, but boy, once you hop in those cars, you understand what they're going through.
And that's part of the fun of this series, though, is the old cars and their very strange oddities and how you have to kind of wrangle them around the track.
Yeah, they're idiosyncrasies, if you will, as they have plenty of them. Some of the most unique cars here on the iRacing service. And Rob Olenek still holding on that P3, looking pretty good at this point. Rob's gone up since last round. He was up to 7th in the points. So he is on a climb, and this will continue to help him, but he's not nearly as high as I think he would like to be. This third should hopefully help, but he's still looking for that first win. It's been dominated by Neidhart really all season long. Two drivers we haven't looked at a lot here is for 6th place, the number 17 of Laughter, the number 5 of Sadro. They're coming through the horseshoe themselves.
Yeah, and they've been very close to one another for the last couple of laps here, and this is just outside of the top 5, battle for 6th place in the GTOs. And Daniel Sadro has been gaining on Ben Laughter. Laughter starting to struggle a little bit here around DIR, and Sadro seeming that he's still got the car underneath him. Now remember that track temperature, how hot it was. It's now down to 103 degrees, but clearly some of the Audis are starting to lose their tires. We still got 10 minutes to go.
Continue to ride on board. Man, it almost looks like the cars get a little airborne over some of these humps. Just incredible. Down plunging through the valley into the oak tree. So it's going to be that important right-hander. Double apex off the oak tree. What Sadro got? Not enough, it looks like.
He got a decent exit, but Ben Laughter also got a good one as well. So he's not going to have anything going here into the roller coaster, but he's going to have to wait until that first corner. But look how much he's gaining here. Laughter looking to the inside to try and cover off. Yeah, that's just not an opportunity. There's just not enough track to try and make that pass at that moment. So Sadro having to wait again. And this is 2nd place Nick Bacanos, who's now trapped behind them until they get to the front stretch. This is going to lose him even more time.
He's got about a 3.5-second gap back to Gerber, so he can afford a little bit. Now he's going to be able to sneak through onto the front stretch. And it looks like he's going to be well clear. Oh, but what's happening with Sadro? He closes very suddenly.
I thought for sure he was going to try and dive it down the inside there, but he decides better of it. And he's going to wait behind Laughter for another half of a lap.
Keeping half an eye on this and half an eye on Suarez and Sintez Gaindo, because those two are back at it again potentially. Oh, and traffic for Sadro is not going to play nice. Tobias Gerber, who's himself understandably in a hurry, is going to cost him a little bit of time.
Yeah, Tobias trying to get up to the back of Nick Bacanos, trying to regain that time, and he's going to make his way around Ben Laughter. That's 3rd place in the GTPs, chasing 2nd, who just went by a little bit earlier.
Less than 10 minutes to go now. If you're going to make a move, you got to do it soon. Takes a bit to get around this circuit for both cars. Down into the oak tree yet again. That's Martin Krajcik now behind them.
Yeah, Krajcik in 14th position, a lap down. Remember, he was the one who had to go through pit lane, and he did take his penalty. It was a 30-second penalty that he spent in pit lane. Is now out back, just trying to regain some points after that.
You know, we talked before we went live here. Whoa! And what happened to Sadro?
Looked like he outbraked
Suddenly
himself.
I saw those hands sawing at the wheel. I think he put his wheels in the dirt.
Let's see what happens here. This is very interesting. He's very close to the edge of the track as he goes up there, and yeah, you're right, he does. He gets just about half a wheel in the dirt, and like I said, that shoots you off track. Almost ended his race.
Just out of the corner of my eye, I suddenly saw him wheeling away, and I was like, what is going on? Great job for Sadro to keep the car together, but unfortunately, Laughter's now pulled away because of that. Shockingly, for all that we've talked about the problems that this course causes, the difficulty, we've only had 3 retirements. Hall, Chalitko, and Raba. And Raba was a did not start because his internet connection was not playing nice.
Yeah, Raba was a did not start. Jamie Hall was a did not finish due to what we think is similar connection issues. So Alexander also pulled it off track because he was having too many off tracks and didn't feel safe. So nobody's really wrecked out of this thing. But here we are with 10th place battle. This is Ryan Lang and Carlos Fonseca as they go into turn 1, chasing down John Keefe, who's less than a second ahead.
Yeah, Keefe could become a part of this fight, whether he likes it or not. Depending on how much speed these two have, we ride on board with Carlos, one of those drivers who had a few issues early in the race with a couple off tracks here and there.
Yeah, and Joe, I've actually been keeping my eye on this battle for most of the race. These 3 have been duking it out and swapping positions for the entire race pretty much. But that being said, they just continue to be broken up by traffic. And now that they don't have traffic, you see how they kind of close up to one another. But then they've got Christopher Chitterling and Jamie Hamill-Smith up ahead of them. That's going to break up this battle once again.
I think we're going to catch them close to the end of the race because it's only 5 minutes left and they're still a little up the road. As they come onto the backstretch, who's got good control on the throttle? Keefe looks pretty decent. And Lang looks like he had a little bit of wheel spin. Fonseca not able to capitalize as they pick up speed, 167, 170 miles an hour, up and over the crest, and they finally hit the brakes into the roller coaster.
Yeah, Carlos Fonseca is definitely better through the turning sections than Ryan Lang, but Ryan Lang definitely has less downforce on the car because he was able to pull away on that straightaway. That's going to make it really hard for Carlos Fonseca to find a way by. These GTPs don't offer as much draft as the Audi GTOs, so as you can see, Ryan Lang, even with a worse exit, is able to pull a little bit on Carlos Fonseca. Fonseca diving to the inside, trying to get Ryan Lang a little bit upset there, entering the corner. Nothing happening.
Making him think about it as we now hop on the roof of Carlos. I love seeing how much speed these cars can carry, not just from the onboard, but there you can see the miles per hour gauge just under his name. Gives you a sense, because sometimes really the speed doesn't show that well here on screen. Seeing the numbers really drives it home.
Yeah, these guys are cooking right now. John Keefe just catching up to the back of Jamie Hamill-Smith. He's going to actually get held up behind him as they go through the S's here. This is going to give an opportunity to Ryan Lang and Clayton and Carlos Fonseca as they catch up to Jamie Hamill-Smith at the worst time. Ryan Lang's going to try and go around the outside. That's a sketchy move. Here comes Carlos Fonseca trying to catch up to the back now. Now they've got the lap car of Clayton McLeod, their own class, and Christopher Chitterling, a different class that they're going to have to get by. This is going to get very interesting. Clayton pulls over.
Held him up quite a bit, but I think the gap that Keefe had pulled really saved his bacon. Now he's going to have to deal with Chitterling, and he's going to catch him at a bit of an odd spot. Just manages to outbrake him. Everybody gets through nice and smooth into the roller coaster. And it's a bad place for Lang, too.
Oh, Chitterling pulled over. That's going to be a saving grace for Ryan Lang and Carlos Fonseca. Otherwise, they would have had to follow him through all the way down to the front stretch. John Keefe, catching Chitterling at the right time, is able to get by. He's now pulled a second on Ryan Lang, whereas Carlos Fonseca still half of a second behind. And we've lost Juan Micosta.
Yeah, he's in pit lane for some reason. Almost looks like a penalty, maybe? I think maybe he came in for an incident count limit, it looks like. So we've got a battle forming for third as well. Oh, and a car off. That's Tobias Gerber, actually, just in front of them. I think he didn't lose any positions with that, but that was a scare, and thankfully they don't have to re-overtake them and let him back by once again.
So Rob Olnick and Reed Miller, Reed has just not been able to get anything done on Rob the entire race, and we're on to 2 minutes now left in the race. This will be, they will not have the white flag this time, but it'll be white flag next time around, so this will be very close for them. So next time around is going to be white flag for Fabian, as look at that, Rob Olnick getting loose, Martin Krajcik backing off, and Reed Miller now misses a shit, unable to get going. Heartbreaking for Reed Miller.
So much happening though. From that onboard for Miller, you saw how close Krajcik was getting coming down into the braking. We talk about how narrow this track is, but that certainly illustrates it right there. Krajcik now has Engstrom behind him, but Engstrom is looking to lap him. This is not a battle for position. We're going to get the white flag this time by for Fabian. Gerber, our leader, it's up to 21 seconds over Nick Mukanos. He's so close to getting this first win here in round 7.
Yeah, but he has a whole lap full of lap traffic, so that's going to be very, very tough for him to do.
There's the white flag for the number 3 car. It's been a long time coming. He leads the championship, and he's looking to extend that lead. Phil Lake, though, not quite as safe. Neidhart about 3.7 seconds back. He's not going to be able to attack him, but again, mistakes, like you said, traffic. Phil Lake does need to keep it together one more time.
Yeah, Phil Lake can deal with about 2 bad moments of traffic before he's really being challenged by Dennis, but one mistake and he'll be in big trouble.
Suarez went off track, and I think he's got damage because he's now come to a halt. Let's take a look at the replay. I think he picked the wrong way through here into the climbing S's. Oh no, he just lost control of it. Oh, that was a hard hit.
That is a heartbreaker for Suarez. He was up to the 6th position, and he's out of the race now. Last lap.
He could not see the checkered flag just from that one moment, losing control at the very end.
And look at this, Jugo La Scala up to 5th position after a really tough start. He's still there, but now he's right on the back of Reed Miller and Rob Olnick. We're going to keep our eye on this as we take a look at Fabian Gerber coming across the line for the win.
Yeah, Gerber's just got a couple more corners to go because he just finished the backstretch. Don't even think he's going to have to go past any more traffic because it's just his own class ahead of him in the form of Costa. Out of Hogpen now. Fabian Gerber comes to the line, and he is going to take the victory, his first win, finally, all season long. Lake coming home behind him, not far back. He's managed this traffic well. The brother of Fabian, Tobias Gerber, just having overtaken him. Phil Lake finally giving us a third different winner here in the GTO class, taking victory here in Virginia.
Desperately needed that win, Joe.
What about that battle, though, for 4th place? Reed Miller under intense pressure now. Coming out of the hog pen. Olenik's just in front of him. Bravo taking a well-earned podium and just managing to get to the line in time. Reed Miller ahead of Lescala.
Ryan Lang and Carlos Fonseca still battling it out here for that 9th position after John Keefe had an off-track last lap. So Carlos Fonseca in behind Ryan Lang, but Ryan Lang got a much better exit, but that does not mean the race is over yet. They still have roller coaster go. Carlos Fonseca puts it in really deep, able to get the car slowed down here. Ryan Lang, though, just being super consistent, running against line, taking no chances here. He's going to be very conservative as he exits the final corner, and he's going to keep it in front of Carlos Fonseca and take that 9th place. Carlos Fonseca going to take 10th.
Not quite enough there for Carlos, unfortunately. That's going to be the last of our battles. Everybody else just cycling across the line. Let's take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel after some great action here at VIR. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews. Stick around because you'll see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to Virginia International Raceway, home of round 7 for the iRacing Kamel GT series this season. And Fabian Gerber, after many tries and many podiums this season, finally gets his first win. He was ahead of Nick Mukanos by quite a wide margin, more than 20 seconds, and then his brother joins him on the podium today, finishing in third, unfortunately a position down from where he started. Kenny Engstrom with a P4 was then followed by Stefan Schlacher. We said earlier he tends to not like having screen time. Well, I think today his lack of screen time paid off because he went from 10th to 5th. Laust Olsen was in 6th place, exactly where he started, but that's not the end of the story because, well, he was up and down the order a lot today. Aitor Sintes Guindo was 7th, with Ryan Lang going from 17th to 8th after not qualifying. That call paid off for him. Carlos Fonseca was 9th, and John Keefe was 10th. Mike Bruder finished with 11th, first car lap down. Mark Krejcik in 12th. And you've got Johnny Bell in P13 and Juan Micosta in 14th. Last of the finishing prototypes was Pablo Suarez and Clayton Cloud.
Finally, a fairly quiet race. Pole to the win for Phil Lake, taking the win today at VIR, with Dennis Neidhart just unable to catch due to the traffic breaking them up in second place. Rob Olenek able to hold off Reed Miller for the last half of the race, coming home in third, with Reed coming home in fourth. Juca La Scala unable to recover from that first lap off. He crossed the track and ended up in 5th position, and once again spun out later, ended up in 5th again. Ben Laughter in 6th, with Daniel Sadro chasing him down for 7th place. Hideki Koivisto, a quiet race for him, ends up in 8th place, with Christopher Chitterling racing hard all race, coming home in 9th. Jamie Hamill-Smith coming home in 10th position, with Fabio Iati in 11th, Michael Haynes in 12th, and Simo Raba did not start.
Looks like we've got our winner in the GTOs ready to talk to us, Phil Lake. Phil, I'd say that Dennis has been a bit greedy with the wins this season, but you finally managed to get him to share. How'd you do that?
Pole, basically. I mean, yeah, he's been on a really good run of form this season, and I took the one other win at Montreal when he wasn't racing, so it's good to get one over him today. Yeah, it really did just come down to getting the pole lap there and being able to control the start. And then you can usually get about a second gap or so with a good start, and you just kind of try and hang on to that for the rest of the race.
I don't know if you're able to tell the differences on the track itself, but we had a bit of a swing in temperatures on the surface. It went between 98 degrees Fahrenheit and 106 at the hottest that we caught it. Could you feel that on there?
The car was driving pretty similar throughout. You could tell the clouds came over about, I think it was halfway through or something like that. It kind of got a little bit dark, which I think psychologically tells you that there's more grip, at least with the version 6 tires. So I think you push a little bit more, but you don't really think about what you're doing. It's just all natural at that point.
Gotcha. Well, we've talked a lot behind the scenes about how tough this season is, and it's just unrelenting because next round we're going to Detroit. I mean, thoughts going over there?
Oh, it's one of my favorite tracks. I really love all the street circuits, and it's bumpy too, which just adds to the... It's a really good fun track. I'm looking forward to that one.
All right. Well, we'll look out for you, see if you can get win number 3 this season. Again, congratulations.
Thanks, guys.
That was Phil Lake taking another victory. I was wrong. It's still 2 different winners. It was Phil Lake who is the other one who's won this season. Up next, Fabian Gerber is a new winner this season, and Adam is caught up with him.
Yeah, Fabian, excellent drive today. Pole to the win. Talk to me a little bit about the traffic today, because it seemed to be pretty chaotic for most of the people back in the pack.
It was. I think it was okay. It's this track is difficult with traffic. It just has some sections where you just have to wait. You can't do anything. You just have to wait, and if you do that, nothing's going to happen. But the bad thing is when you have a Nissan right behind you, then it's difficult what to do. But I was lucky today. I didn't have that, so it was a very clean race for me, and nothing really too hairy happened with Audis.
And your pace was exquisite today. You and your brother were side by side for the start of the race, but he had a little bit of trouble earlier on. Was your pace similar? Were you expecting him to challenge you later on in the race if he didn't have such bad luck?
We were hoping for a 1-2, and if that happens, I hope, of course, that I'm 1, but you never know. But usually in practice, I was a bit faster, but it would have been nice to get him on the on the second place. He made the podium, which is great. But one of these days, we have to pull that off, Gerber 1-2.
Yeah, definitely a great race for you guys, for both of you. And next week we go to Detroit. We just asked Phil Lake about it, and he likes that track. What are your thoughts about that as a GTP driver?
I like it as well, a lot actually. I really like tracks like this, also like Long Beach. I wish iRacing would finish this and make it an official track. I really like these city tracks, and Detroit is, I think it's great fun, and it really suits the series as well, because there are just some sections where you can't overtake an Audi, but usually it's okay, as far as I remember, at least.
I love that you say that it fits the series if there are portions where you can't overtake the slower classes. But Fabian, fantastic win today, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you very much, guys. See you next week. I look forward.
All right, that was Fabian Gerber, and Reed Miller is up next. He placed 4th in the GTOs, and he's with Joe.
Yep, just outside of the podium, tantalizingly close, Reed, because you hung on to Rob Olenek for quite a while. What was holding you back on him? Was it just pace? You couldn't quite get up there, or would you blame traffic today?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I only got close to him a few times, and I couldn't make the pass stick. And it's hard to stick close with him, so I don't want to blame traffic or anything like that. But I guess that probably contributed to why I couldn't really bug him as much as I wanted to, really.
Had some good side-by-side battles, though, at least early in the race. You and Yuko as well as with Rob. It seems like with this being a narrow track, it feels dangerous from our end. Is it as tense in the cockpit here when you try and get wheel to wheel with someone?
Yeah, pretty much. It's never guaranteed that you're all going to come out okay, but you try and leave space and roll the dice kind of thing. So it's really fun when it works out too. So it's like a satisfying feeling completely.
I can only imagine. We also talked a lot about in the broadcast the difficulty in driving these cars, the quirks that they have and how unique they are on the iRacing service, because I'm not sure that fans always understand how tough it is to drive them. So, I mean, if you could try and explain to them why drivers have such problems just keeping these things on track, I mean, what would you say to the fans?
I think I could write a book on this car, just on all the weird things that it does and the idiosyncrasies and stuff. So yeah, I've been driving the car for 3 years, so I have a really good expectation of what's going to happen. But it is not usual. It's not a normal car. Like, differential is weird. The tires are huge. It's got way more power than anything, and it's just like a different beast than almost anything else on iRacing.
Well, it's certainly fun to watch, and hopefully you'll stay with it for more years. Again, thanks for coming and talking to us, and congratulations on 4th.
All right. Thanks, Joe. Take care.
Reed Miller, who just came home shy of a podium, but top 5 today, and I'm sure he's happy about that, as Adam has caught up with Stefan Schlacher.
Yeah, Stefan, we talked about you early on in the race. We didn't really talk about you much later, but you seemed like you got up to that 5th position fairly late in the race. Talk to me about how that happened.
Oh, well, starting in 10th place, it isn't the fastest track ever for me, VR, but I know that I'm always very consistent here, so just get back to the basics, take everything easy. If someone tries to attack me, just let them have it, and that's basically what happened. I just, kept to my basics, and everybody else made the mistakes, and that's how I got up to that 5th place.
All right, Steph, it's a question we've been asking a lot of people. What are your thoughts about next week at Detroit?
Oh, it's fantastic. I love difficult tracks. That's why Virginia is one of my favorite tracks on the service, and I'm really looking forward to that challenge. And I think I might actually have to practice a week long for a track.
Well, hopefully you do a good job next week, Stefan, and we look forward to seeing you then.
yeah, I'm also looking forward.
All right, that was Stefan Schlacher coming home in 5th place today.
And that's going to close out our interviews. So we're going to thank a few people of our own, starting with the Kamel GT series themselves for bringing us back for another season of coverage. And also, we want to thank the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcasts that are listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. And thanks to the team today, Adam, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on social media, with our Twitter being @GSR Channel, our Facebook is Global Sim Racing Channel, and our Instagram is @GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support us, we got a merchandise store. It's linked in the description below where it says gsrc.storenvy.com. And don't forget, while you're down there, to subscribe to the channel. It's easier to do than it is to say. Just click the big red button that says subscribe. See? The next race, we have Detroit, as we've mentioned multiple times. That'll be May 2nd at 1 p.m. Eastern. Do not miss that one, because it is a wild one for this series. It is very tough and punishing. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar, including one in a few hours' time this evening, short track racing with the K&N cars, the ARCA cars now, I should say, the Grand National Series for the bootleg guys. That'll be our next one up, but until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.